You know that moment when someone crushes your child's dreams right in front of you, and you feel your heart shatter into a million pieces? Well, let me tell you what happened when my neighbor laughed at my son's biggest dream and said he'd never amount to anything. 3 years later, that same man was standing in a crowd of 2,000 people, watching the mayor call my son's name on stage. But this story will show you why you should never, ever give up on someone you love, no matter how impossible their dreams might seem. Welcome to Plot Twist Life, where real stories reveal the most incredible plot twists that life has to offer. I'm here to share stories that remind us that life can change in the most unexpected ways. If you love stories about triumph, hope, and the power of never giving up, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you're going to want to hear every single story I have to share. My name is Sarah, and I live in a small town called Millbrook, in Ohio. It's one of those places where everybody knows everybody, where news travels faster than wildfire, and where dreams are often seen as luxuries that working-class families like mine simply can't afford. My husband Mark works at the local manufacturing plant, and I work as a nurse at Millbrook General Hospital. We're not rich by any means, but we've always taught our children that with hard work and determination, anything is possible. Our son Danny was always different from other kids. While his friends were playing video games or watching television, Danny would sit in his room for hours, writing songs and playing his old acoustic guitar that we bought him from a garage sale when he turned 13. That guitar was beaten up, had a crack running down the side, and was missing one of the tuning pegs. But to Danny, it was his most prized possession. I'll never forget the day he came running into the kitchen, his face glowing with excitement, clutching a piece of paper in his hands. He was 16 at the time, and he had just heard about a national songwriting competition for young artists. The winner would receive a $10,000 scholarship to Berklee College of Music in Boston, plus the opportunity to record their song professionally. "Mom, this is it," he said, his voice trembling with excitement. "This is my chance to show everyone what I can do. I'm going to write the best song anyone has ever heard." I looked at my son's face, saw the pure joy and determination in his eyes, and I knew I had to support him, even though the practical part of me worried about how competitive these things could be. "Tell me more about it, honey," I said, sitting down at our kitchen table. Danny explained that he had to submit an original song along with a video of himself performing it. The deadline was in 3 months, and contestants had to be between 16 and 18 years old. Thousands of kids from across the country would be competing, but Danny was convinced he had what it took. "I've already started working on my song," he said, his hands shaking slightly as he spoke. "It's about our town, about the dreams that people have here, and about never giving up even when everyone tells you that you're not good enough." Over the next few weeks, Danny worked tirelessly on his song. He would come home from school, grab a quick snack, and head straight to his room. We could hear him playing the same melodies over and over again, tweaking the lyrics, adjusting the tempo. Sometimes he'd play until 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'd have to remind him to get some sleep for school the next day. Mark and I were incredibly proud of Danny's dedication, but we were also worried. We could see how much this competition meant to him, and we knew how devastated he would be if things didn't work out. But we decided to support him 100%, even helping him set up a small recording space in our basement and borrowing our neighbor's video camera to film his submission. The song Danny wrote was absolutely beautiful. It was called Small Town Symphony, and it captured everything about our little community, the struggles, the hopes, the way people looked out for each other, and the dreams that seemed so big in a place that felt so small. When he played it for us for the first time, I had tears streaming down my face. Mark, who's not usually emotional, cleared his throat and told Danny it was the most beautiful thing he'd ever heard. But not everyone shared our enthusiasm. Our next-door neighbor, Robert Thompson, was what you might call the unofficial critic of our neighborhood. He was a retired high school principal who seemed to take pleasure in pointing out why things wouldn't work or why people's ideas were unrealistic. Robert had lived in Millbrook his entire life, and he had very strong opinions about what was practical and what was just foolish dreaming. The day after Danny submitted his competition entry, Robert saw him in our front yard, tuning his guitar on the porch steps. Robert walked over with that condescending smile he always wore when he was about to share his wisdom. "So, Danny," Robert said, leaning against our fence, "I heard from your mother that you entered some kind of music contest." Danny looked up with excitement. "Yes, sir. It's a national songwriting competition. The winner gets to go to Berklee College of Music." Robert chuckled and shook his head slowly. "Son, let me give you some advice that'll serve you well in life. Dreams are nice to have, but they don't pay the bills. You think some kid from Millbrook, Ohio, playing a broken guitar, is going to beat out thousands of other kids who probably have professional equipment and expensive music lessons." I was standing by our kitchen window, washing dishes, and I could hear every word. My hands clenched around the dish I was holding. Robert continued, "I've been around long enough to see plenty of young people waste their time chasing impossible dreams, instead of focusing on practical skills that'll actually help them make a living. Music is a nice hobby, but it's not a career for people like us. Why don't you focus on your studies instead? Maybe consider trade school or community college. That's more realistic for someone in your situation." Danny's face fell, and I could see his confidence deflating like a balloon. "But Mr. Thompson," he said quietly, "I really think I have a chance. My song is good, and Danny," Robert interrupted, his voice becoming more stern, "I'm trying to save you from disappointment. Trust me, in 3 months when you don't win this thing, you'll realize I was right. It's better to learn this lesson now than to keep setting yourself up for failure." I watched my son's shoulders slump as he looked down at his guitar. Robert patted him on the shoulder, in what he probably thought was a fatherly way, and said, "Don't worry, son. Not everyone can be a star. Most of us are meant for ordinary lives, and there's nothing wrong with that." That night, Danny barely touched his dinner. He went to his room early and didn't play his guitar at all. For the first time in months, our house was completely quiet. Mark and I tried to talk to him, tried to remind him that Robert's opinion didn't matter, but we could see that the damage had been done. For the next few days, Danny seemed to lose his spark. He still practiced, but not with the same intensity. The joy that had radiated from him while working on his song was replaced by doubt and uncertainty. I found myself getting angrier and angrier at Robert Thompson, but I didn't know how to undo the damage he had caused with his careless words. One evening, about a week after Robert's comments, I knocked on Danny's bedroom door and found him sitting on his bed, holding his guitar but not playing it. "Can I come in?" I asked. He nodded, and I sat down beside him. "Danny, I want you to listen to me very carefully," I said, taking his hands in mine. "Robert Thompson doesn't know anything about your talent or your potential. He's a man who gave up on his own dreams a long time ago, and now he thinks everyone else should give up on theirs too." Danny looked up at me with tears in his eyes. "But Mom, what if he's right? What if I'm just kidding myself? What if I'm not good enough?" "Honey," I said, my voice firm but gentle, "I've heard your song. I've watched you pour your heart and soul into your music. You have something special, something that can't be taught or bought. Don't let one person's negativity rob you of the chance to see what you're truly capable of." Over the next few weeks, Mark and I worked hard to rebuild Danny's confidence. We reminded him daily of how talented he was, how proud we were of him, and how important it was to follow his dreams regardless of what other people thought. Slowly, Danny began to regain his enthusiasm for the competition. The months passed, and finally, the day arrived when the competition results would be announced. They were going to announce the winner live on their website at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Our entire family gathered around our old computer in the living room, Danny's guitar leaning against the wall nearby. As 8 o'clock approached, Danny grew more and more nervous. "What if Mr. Thompson was right?" he whispered. "What if I didn't even make it to the top 100? Then we'll be proud of you for trying," Mark said, putting his arm around his son's shoulders. "But I have a feeling that's not going to be the case." At exactly 8 p.m., we clicked on the website link. The page loaded with a video of the competition organizers sitting at a table with official-looking documents in front of them. "Welcome, everyone, to the announcement of this year's National Youth Songwriting Competition winner," said the woman in the center. "We received over 15,000 submissions from talented young artists across the United States and Canada. After months of careful consideration by our panel of industry professionals, we're excited to announce our winner." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Danny was gripping the arms of his chair, his knuckles white with tension. This year's winner submitted a song that perfectly captures the essence of the American dream, the beauty of small-town life, and the power of perseverance. The song is called "Small Town Symphony," and it was written and performed by 17-year-old Danny Mitchell from Millbrook, Ohio. For a moment, none of us moved. We sat there in stunned silence, wondering if we had heard correctly. Then Danny let out a scream of joy that probably woke up half the neighborhood. Mark and I were crying and laughing and hugging all at the same time. Our son had won. Our beautiful, talented son had actually won. The competition organizers went on to explain that Danny's song had been chosen from the final 10 by a panel that included Grammy-winning songwriters and music industry executives. They praised his authentic storytelling, his melodic composition, and his genuine emotional delivery. But the real celebration was still to come. 2 weeks after the competition results were announced, I received a phone call at work from someone at Millbrook City Hall. The woman on the phone explained that Mayor Patricia Williams wanted to honor Danny at the upcoming Millbrook Community Days Festival, which was held every summer in our town's Central Park. The mayor would like to present Danny with a key to the city and have him perform his winning song on the main stage. The woman explained, "We're expecting about 2,000 people to attend the festival, and we think it would be wonderful to showcase our local talent." I could hardly contain my excitement as I called Mark and then Danny to share the news. This was beyond anything we had imagined. Not only had Danny won the national competition, but now he was going to be honored by our own city. The day of the festival was absolutely perfect. The sun was shining, there was a gentle breeze, and the entire town seemed to be buzzing with excitement about Danny's performance. Local newspapers had written articles about his victory, and people we barely knew were stopping us on the street to congratulate our family. As we made our way to the main stage area, I spotted Robert Thompson in the crowd with his wife. He saw us approaching and looked distinctly uncomfortable. I'm ashamed to admit that part of me felt a surge of satisfaction knowing that he was about to witness Danny's moment of triumph. The festival had been going on for several hours, with various local bands and performers taking the stage. Finally, around 4 p.m., Mayor Williams stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, her voice carrying clearly across the crowd, "I'd like to take a moment to recognize a very special young man from our community. 3 months ago, 17-year-old Danny Mitchell entered a national songwriting competition with over 15,000 participants from across North America." The crowd began to quiet down, and I could see people turning their attention to the stage. "Danny didn't just participate in this competition," the mayor continued, "he won it. His song, Small Town Symphony, was chosen as the best original song by a panel of music industry professionals, and he'll be receiving a full scholarship to Berklee College of Music in Boston." The crowd erupted in applause, and I felt tears streaming down my face as I watched my son's dream becoming reality in front of the entire town. "But what makes this even more special," Mayor Williams said, "is that Danny's song is about us. It's about Millbrook, it's about small-town dreams, and it's about the power of community. So without further ado, I'd like to present Danny Mitchell with the key to our city and invite him to perform his award-winning song for all of us." As Danny walked up to the stage, carrying his guitar, I looked over at Robert Thompson. His face was pale, and he was staring at the stage with an expression I couldn't quite read. His wife was clapping enthusiastically, but Robert just stood there, motionless. Danny adjusted the microphone and looked out at the crowd of 2,000 people who had gathered to hear him perform. "Thank you so much, Mayor Williams, and thank you to everyone who came out today," he said, his voice strong and confident. This song is called Small Town Symphony, and it's dedicated to every person who's ever been told their dreams were too big for where they came from. As Danny began to play, his voice carried across the park with a power and emotion that gave me chills. The crowd was completely silent, hanging on every word, every note. I watched faces in the audience, and I could see people wiping away tears, nodding along with the lyrics, and feeling the same pride and hope that Danny's song conveyed. When he finished, the applause was thunderous. People were on their feet, cheering and shouting. Several people in the crowd were calling out encore. Encore! Mayor Williams returned to the microphone and thanked Danny again, officially presenting him with a beautiful key to the city and a proclamation declaring that day Danny Mitchell Day in Millbrook. As we made our way off the stage and through the crowd, person after person stopped to congratulate Danny and our family. Local business owners were asking if Danny would consider performing at their establishments. A representative from the Regional Arts Council wanted to discuss featuring him in their upcoming events. It was overwhelming and wonderful all at the same time. Then, as we were almost back to our car, Robert Thompson approached us. He looked nervous and uncomfortable, and I honestly wasn't sure what he was going to say. "Danny," he said quietly, looking down at his shoes, "I owe you an apology." Danny stopped walking and turned to face his former critic. "I was wrong," Robert continued, his voice barely audible over the festival noise around us. "I was completely wrong about you, about your talent, and about your chances. What I said to you that day was unfair and discouraging, and I'm sorry." Danny looked at Robert for a long moment, then extended his hand. "Thank you for saying that, Mr. Thompson, I appreciate it." Robert shook Danny's hand, then looked at Mark and me. "You raised an exceptional young man," he said. "I hope you'll forgive an old fool for almost crushing something beautiful." As we drove home that evening, Danny was quiet in the back seat, still holding his key to the city and looking out the window at the town he'd written about in his song. "What are you thinking about, honey?" I asked. "I was just thinking about that day when Mr. Thompson told me I'd never amount to anything," Danny said. "I almost believed him. I almost gave up." "But you didn't," Mark said from the driver's seat. "And that made all the difference." "I learned something important today," Danny continued. "It's not about proving the people who doubt you wrong. It's about proving the people who believe in you right." 3 months later, Danny left for Boston to begin his studies at Berklee College of Music. His scholarship covered everything: tuition, room and board, even money for books and supplies. But more importantly, he left with the confidence that comes from knowing he had faced doubt and criticism and had still chosen to pursue his dreams. The song that started it all, Small Town Symphony, went on to be featured in a commercial for a major car company. Danny earned enough money from that licensing deal to help support himself through college and to buy his parents. That's Mark and me, a brand new car to replace the 15-year-old sedan we'd been driving since he was in elementary school. But the most meaningful part of this whole story happened about a year later. Danny was home for Christmas break, and he decided to organize a free concert for the community at our local high school. He wanted to give back to the town that had supported him and to encourage other young people to pursue their dreams. Robert Thompson was in the audience that night. After the concert, he approached Danny again, this time with tears in his eyes. "I've been thinking about what you said that day about your song being for people who were told their dreams were too big," Robert said. "I realized that I had become one of those people who crushes dreams instead of nurturing them. I retired from education because I thought I was helping kids be realistic. But really, I was just passing on my own fears and limitations." Robert paused, looking around at all the young faces in the audience who had been inspired by Danny's performance. "I want you to know that I've started volunteering with the local youth arts program," he continued. "I'm trying to make up for all the dreams I might have discouraged over the years by helping kids believe in themselves instead." That moment, watching a man who had once mocked my son's dreams now working to encourage other young people, I realized that Danny's victory was about so much more than just winning a competition or proving someone wrong. It was about the ripple effect that happens when someone refuses to give up on their dreams, no matter how impossible they might seem to other people. Today, Danny is in his senior year at Berkeley, and he's already been offered internships with several major record labels. But more importantly, he's still the same kind, determined young man who writes songs about hope and perseverance and the beauty of believing in yourself. Every time I drive past that park where Danny performed for 2,000 people, where the mayor called his name on stage, I'm reminded that dreams aren't just personal victories. They're proof to everyone watching that impossible things can happen, that small-town kids can compete with anyone, and that the only person who gets to decide what you're capable of is you. This story taught me that when someone mocks your dreams or tells you they're impossible, they're usually talking about their own limitations, not yours. Danny's journey from a kid with a broken guitar and a big dream to a scholarship winner performing on stage shows us that persistence and belief in yourself can overcome any amount of doubt or criticism. If this story inspired you, if it reminded you to never give up on your dreams or the dreams of people you love, please hit that subscribe button and join our Plot Twist Life community. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's been told their dreams are too big or too unrealistic. Sometimes all it takes is one person believing in you to change everything. What dreams are you pursuing right now? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, your plot twist might be just around the corner.